thank you so much for coming. Our power was out, so we're a little bit delayed, but I'm Christine Moser. I'm with the Endangered Species Theatre Project, and I just wanted to let you know, because camera sometimes is a little, it looks like things are different. We're all probably more like 7 feet apart or more, and we will take our masks off to perform, but we're just staying at our music stands. So I also wanted to thank SkyStage, because SkyStage and the Frederick Arts Council are what make all of this happen. Outdoor theater, outdoor readings, actually. And they have a donate link, usually in the comments, and also you can go to their website, which is, they'll be in that and they'll be in the comments too. And it's any kind of donation for the Frederick Arts Council is a donation for endangered species. And for all the other theaters and arts, they have a fund, they helped artists, they helped arts organization. They're pretty amazing during all of this time. So thank you, Moore's over there. Thank you, SkyStage. And now we're gonna present just some Suffragette plays. If it starts to get dark, we have our phone flashlights, so we'll see what happens. So I'm just gonna say you guys who are speaking can take off your masks, and I will be back when my character's back. Should I say the name of the first play?
Yeah.
The 12-pound note. Oh, I say it that all the time. It's the 12-pound look, and it's J.M. Barrie.
Today, we gaze into the sumptuous sitting room of Mr. soon-to-be Sir Harry Sims, a successful resident of the highly fashionable suburbs of London circa 1910. He's engaged in a solemn rehearsal of his imminent elevation, with his wife dutifully playing the role of the august personages who will be dubbing him knight. She is wearing her presentation gown, an exquisitely bejeweled and very visible testament to her husband's generosity. She sits regally but tensely, keenly aware of her unsuitability for the role she is playing, as her husband repeatedly approaches, kneels, and raises her hand to his lips. She dubs him with a letter opener as the ceremonial sword has yet to arrive, and bids him rise in the best baritone that she can muster. Then, for good measure, Harry carefully and oh so formally sweeps his way around the room, kneeling and repeating the ceremony. First, at the sofa with the gold tassel of the strategically placed decorative pillow standing in for the royal hand. Arise, Sir Harry. Next, he sweeps on to the drinks cabinet, kneeling before the tantalus and gravely raising the tail of the lace runner to his lips. Rise again, Sir Harry. He proceeds equally solemnly to a rather robust ficus, once again kneeling and gently raising a leaf to his lips. One more time, Sir Harry. In fact, in the last hour, Sir Harry has risen a knight several dozen times and now enjoys the confidence of the well-rehearsed. Soon-to-be Sir Harry's confidence, however, is soon to be tested by a chance encounter with an untidy and disquieting part of his own personal history. And history, we have heard, has a way of repeating itself.
Did that seem all right, eh?
I think perfect.
But was it dignified?
Oh, very. And it will still be more so when you have the sword.
The sword will lend it an air. There are really 5 moments. The glide up to the royal personage, the dip to one knee, the kiss, the tap, and you back out a knight. Well, it's short, but it's a very beautiful ceremony. Anything you suggest?
No. Oh, no. You don't think we've practiced till you know what to do almost too well?
I do not. Don't talk nonsense. Wait till your opinion is asked for.
I'm sorry, Harry.
Begging your pardon, sir.
Oh, Tones, what is it?
Caller, ma'am. A representative from the Flora Typewriting Agency?
Oh, yes, I telephoned them to send someone. A woman, I suppose, Tomes?
Yes, Sir Harry.
Well, show her in here. And Tomes, strictly speaking, you know, I'm not Sir Harry till Thursday.
Beg pardon, sir, but it is such a satisfaction to us.
Ah, They like it downstairs, do they?
Especially the females, Sir Harry.
Exactly. Well, you can show her in, Holmes.
Very good, sir.
You can tell that woman she is wanted for it, well, what she is wanted for, Emmy, while I change. You can't tell her the sort of things about me that will come better from you. You heard what Tome said, especially the females. And he is right. Success. The women like it even better than the men. And rightly, for you share, Lady Sims. Not a woman will see that gown without being sick with envy of it. I know them. Have all our lady friends in to see it. It'll make them ill for a week.
Good morning, madam.
A heavy case is set down onto the floor.
Good morning. Is that the typewriting machine?
You hear the sound of the case being opened and the machine being placed on the table.
Yes. I suppose if I am to work here, I may remove my hat. I got on better without it.
Certainly. I ought to apologize for my gown. I am to be presented this week, and I was trying it on.
Oh, it is beautiful, if I may presume to say so.
Yes, it is very beautiful. Sit down, please.
I suppose it is some copying you want done. I got no particulars. I was told to come to this address, but that was all.
Oh, it is not work for me. It is for my husband. And that what he needs is not exactly copying. He wants a number of letters answered, hundreds of them. Letters and telegrams of congratulations.
Yes.
My husband is a remarkable man. He is about to be knighted. He is to be knighted for his services to, for his services. He can explain it so much better than I.
And I am to answer the congratulations.
Yes.
It is work I have had some experience of.
She begins typing, and the typing continues under the dialogue.
But you can't begin until you know what he wants to say.
It's only a specimen letter. Won't it be the usual thing?
Is there a usual thing?
Oh, yes.
The typing continues as Lady Sims watches for a moment.
Oh. How quickly you do it. It must be delightful to be able to do something and to do it well.
Yes, it is delightful.
But excuse me, I don't think that will be any use. My husband wants to explain to you that his is an exceptional case. He did not try to get this honor in any way. It was a complete surprise to him.
Yes, that is what I have written.
But how could you have known?
I only guessed.
Is that the usual thing?
Oh, yes.
They don't try to get it?
Well, I don't know. That is what we are told to say in the letters.
Well, I should explain that my husband is not one who cares for honors, so long as he does his duty.
Yes, I have been putting that in.
Have you? Oh, well, but he particularly wants it known that he would have declined if it were not for...
Well, yes, I have got that here.
Well, what have you got?
Indeed, I would have asked not to be allowed to decline had it not been that I want to please my wife.
But how could you have known it was that?
Well, is it?
Do they all accept it for that reason?
Well, that is what we are told to say in the letters.
It is quite as if you know my husband.
I assure you, I don't even know his name.
Oh, you wouldn't like that. Ah, Harry, this is the lady.
Yes, good morning, my dear.
This typing stops abruptly.
I have been trying to explain to her.
Leave it to me, Emmy. I'll attend her.
As you wish, Harry.
You,
Yes, it's funny.
the shamelessness of your daring to come here.
Believe me, it is not less a surprise to me than it is to you. I was sent here in the ordinary way of business. I was only giving a number of the house. I was not told the name.
The ordinary way of business. This is what you have fallen to. A typist.
Think of it.
After going through worse straits, I'll be bound.
Much worse straits.
My congratulations.
Thank you, Harry.
Eh? What was that you're called? What was that you called me, madam?
Isn't it Harry? On my soul, I almost forgot.
It isn't Harry to you. My name is Sims, if you please.
Yes, I had not forgotten that. It was my name too, you see.
It was your name until you forfeited the right to bear it.
Exactly.
I was furious to find you here, but on second thoughts it pleases me. There is a grim justice in this.
Tell me.
Do you know what you were brought here to do?
I have just been learning. You have been made a knight, and I was summoned to answer the message of congratulations.
That's it. That's it. You come on this day as my servant.
I, who might have been Lady Sims.
And you are her typist instead. And she has 4 men servants. Oh, I am glad you saw her in her presentation gown.
Well, I wonder if she would let me do her washing, Sir Harry.
You can go. The mere thought that only a few flights of stairs separate such as you from my innocent children.
You have children?
2.
Such a nice number.
Both boys.
Successful in everything. Are they like you, Sir Harry?
They are very like me.
Well, that's nice.
Will you please go?
Oh, hi-ho. What shall I say to my employer?
That is no affair of mine.
Well, what will you say to Lady Sims?
I flatter myself that whatever I say, Lady Sims will accept without comment.
Still the same, Harry.
What do you mean?
Only that you have the old confidence in your profound knowledge of the sex.
I suppose I know my wife.
I suppose so. I was only remembering that you used to think you knew her in the days when I was the lady. Well, goodbye, Sir Harry. Won't you ring and the 4th men servant will show me out?
As you are here, there is something that I want to get out of you. Tell me, who was the man?
You never found out.
I can never be sure.
I thought that would worry you.
It's plain that he soon left you,
Very soon.
as I could have told you. Who was he? It was 14 years ago and cannot matter to any of us now. Kate, tell me who he was.
Better not ask.
I do ask. Tell me.
It is kinder not to tell you.
Then by James, it was one of my own pals. Was it Bernard Roche?
No,
It still may have been someone who comes to my house still.
I think not. 14 years. You found my letter that night when you went home.
Yes.
I propped it against the decanters. I thought you would be sure to see it there. It was a room not unlike this one, and the furniture was arranged in the same attractive way. Oh, how it all comes back to me. Don't you see me, Harry, in a hat and cloak, putting the letter there, taking the last look around, and stealing out into the night to meet
Whom?
him? Hours passed, no sounds in the room but tick-tock of the clock. And then about midnight you return alone. You
I wasn't alone.
No. Oh. Here have I all these years been conceiving it wrongly. I believe something interesting happened.
Something confoundedly annoying.
Oh, do tell me.
But we won't go into that. Who was the man? Surely a husband has the right to know with whom his wife bolted.
Well, surely the wife has the right to know how he took it. A fair exchange. You tell me what happened, and I will tell you who he was.
You will? Very well. Well, as you know, I was dining at the club that night.
Yes?
Jack Lamb drove me home. Mabbott Green was with us, and I asked them to come in for a few minutes.
Jack Lamb. Mabbott Green. I think I remember them. Jack was in Parliament.
No, that was Mabbott. They came into the house with me and... Was it him?
Who?
Mabbott.
What?
The man.
What man? Oh, no. I thought you said he came into the house with you.
It might have been a blind.
Well, it wasn't. Go on.
They came in to finish a talk we had been having at the club.
An interesting talk, evidently.
The papers had been full that evening of the elopement of some countess woman with a fiddler. What was her name?
Well, does it matter?
No. We had been discussing the thing, and I had been rather warm.
I begin to see. You had been saying it served the husband right, that the man who could not look after his wife deserved to lose her. Oh, it was one of your favorite subjects. Oh, Harry, please say it was that.
May have been something like that.
And all the time the letter was there, waiting. And none of you knew except the clock. Oh, Harry, it is sweet of you to tell me. forgot precisely what I said in the letter.
Well, so do I. But I have it still. It sits in the middle drawer of that desk in a stack of minor documents.
Oh, do let me see it again.
You are welcome to it as a gift.
She opens the drawer and the papers rustle.
Yes, this is it. Oh, Harry, you did crumple it. Dear husband, I call you that for the last time. I am off. I am what you call making a bolt for it. I won't try to excuse myself or to explain, for you would not accept the excuses nor understand the explanation. It will be a little shock to you, but only to your pride. What will astound you is that any woman could be such a fool as to leave such a man as you. I am taking nothing with me that belongs to you. May you be very happy. Your ungrateful Kate. P.S. You need not try and find out who he is. You will try, but you won't succeed.
The paper's folded.
I may really have it for my very own.
You really may.
If you would care for a typed copy.
None of your sauce. I had to let them see it in the end.
Oh, I can picture Jack Lamb eating it.
A penniless parson's daughter.
Yes, that's all I was.
We searched for the two of you high and low.
Private detectives?
They couldn't get a track on you.
No.
But at last, the courts let me serve the papers by advertisement on a man unknown, and I got my freedom.
So I saw. It was the last I heard of you.
And I married again just as soon as I ever could.
Well, they say that is always a compliment to the first wife.
I showed them.
You soon let them see that if one woman was a fool, you still had the pick of the basket to choose from.
By James, I did.
But still, you wondered who he was.
I suspected everybody. Even my pals. I felt like jumping at their throats and crying, "It's you!"
You had been so admirable to me. An instinct told you that I was sure to choose another of the same.
I thought, it can't be money, so it must be looks. Some dolly face. He must have had something wonderful about him to make you willing to give up all you had with me.
Poor Harry.
And it couldn't have been going on for long, for I would have noticed the changes in you.
Would you?
I knew you so well.
You amazing man.
So who was he? Out with it.
You are determined to know,
Your promise. You gave your word.
if I must. I am sorry I promised. There was no one, Harry. No one at all.
If you think you can play with me,
I told you that you wouldn't like it.
it is unbelievable.
I suppose it is, but it is true.
Your letter itself gives you the lie.
That was intentional. I saw that if the truth were known, you might have difficulty getting your freedom, and as I was getting mine, it seemed fair that you should have yours also. So I wrote my goodbye in words that would be taken to mean what you thought they meant, and I knew the law would back you in your opinion. For the law, like you, Harry, has a profound understanding of women.
I don't believe you yet.
Well, perhaps that is the best way to take it. It is less unflattering than the truth. But you were the only one. You sufficed.
Then what mad impulse...
It was no impulse, Harry. I had thought it out for a year.
A year? One would think to hear... one would think to hear you that I hadn't been a good husband to you.
You were a good husband, according to your lights.
I think so.
And a moral man, and chatty, and quite the philanthropist.
All women envied you.
And how you loved for me to be envied.
I swaddled you in luxury.
That was it.
What?
How you beamed at me when we sat at the head of your fat dinners, in my fat jewelry, surrounded by our fat friends.
They weren't so fat.
Well, all except those who were so thin. Have you ever noticed, Harry, that many jewels make women look either incredibly fat or incredibly thin?
I have not. We had all the most interesting society of the day. It wasn't only businessmen. There were politicians, painters, writers.
It's only the glorious, dazzling successes. Oh, the fat talk, while we ate too much, about who had made a hit and who was slipping back, and what the new house cost, and the new motor, and the gold soup plates, and who would be the new knight.
Was anybody getting on better than me, and consequently you?
Consequently, me. Oh, Harry, you and your sublime religion.
My religion? I never was one to talk about religion, but
Poor Harry. You don't even know what your religion was, and is, and will be till the day of your expensive funeral. One's religion is whatever he is most interested in, and yours is success.
ambition. It is the last infirmity of noble minds.
Noble minds.
You are not saying that you left me because of my success?
Yes, that was it. I couldn't endure it. If a failure had come now and then, but your success was suffocating me. The passionate craving I had to be done with it, to find myself among people who had not got on.
There are plenty of them.
They were not in our set. When they began to roll downhill, they rolled out of our sight.
I tell you, I am worth $250,000.
Well, that is what you are worth to yourself. I'll tell you what you are worth to me. Exactly 12 pounds. For I made up my mind that I could launch myself on the world alone if I first proved my mettle by earning 12 pounds. And as soon as I had earned it, I left you.
12 pounds.
That is your value to a woman. If she can't make it, she has to stick to you.
You valued me at more than that when you married me.
Ah, I didn't know you then. If only you had been a man, Harry.
A man? What do you mean by a man?
Well, haven't you heard of them? They are something fine. And every woman is loath to admit to herself that her husband is not one. When she marries, even though she has been a very trivial person, there is in her some vague stirring toward a worthy life, as well as a fear of her capacity for evil. She knows her chance lies in him. If there is something good in him, what is good in her finds it, and they join forces against the baser. So, I didn't give you up willingly, Harry. I invented all sorts of theories to explain you, your hardness. I said it was a fine want of mawkishness. Your coarseness, I said it goes with strength. Your contempt for the weak, I called it virility. Your want of ideals was clear-sightedness. Your noble views of women, I tried to think them funny. Oh, I clung to you to save myself. But I had to let go. You had only the one quality, Harry. Success. You had it so strong that it swallowed all the others.
How did you earn that 12 pounds?
It took me nearly 6 months. But I earned it fairly. I learned to type. I hired a machine and taught myself. I got some work through a friend, and with my first 12 pounds, I paid for my own machine. Then I considered that I was free, and I went.
All this going on in my house while you were living in the lap of luxury.
Even so,
By God, you were determined.
my God, I was.
How you must have hated me.
Not a bit. After I saw that there was a way out, from that hour you amused me, Harry. I was even sorry for you when I saw that you couldn't help yourself. Success is just a fatal gift.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and some of your most successful friends knew it. One of the two of them used to look very sad at times. As if they thought they might have come to something if they hadn't got on.
The battered crew you live among now. What are they but folk who have tried to succeed and
Oh,
failed?
that's it. They try, but they fail.
And always will fail.
Always. Poor souls, I say of them. Poor soul, they say of me. It keeps us human. That is why I never tire of them.
Bah! Kate, I tell you, I'll be worth $500,000 yet.
Oh, yes, I'm sure you will. You're getting stout, Harry.
No, I'm not.
What was the name of that old fellow who used to fall asleep at our dinner parties?
You mean Sir William Crackley?
Oh, yes, that was the man. Sir William was to me a perfect picture of the grand success. He got on so well that he was very, very stout. And when he sat in a chair with his hands together and his fingers interlaced, it was as if he was holding his success together. That is what you are working for, Harry. You will have that and the $500,000 about the same time.
Will you please leave my house?
The machine is being packed into the case.
Don't let us part in anger. How do you think I'm looking, Harry? I used to roll around in your how do you think I look compared to the dull inert thing that used to roll around in your padded carriages?
I forget what you were like. I'm very sure you never could have held a candle to the present Lady Sims.
The case is snapped closed.
That painting is of her, is it not?
In her wedding gown, painted by an R.A.
A knight?
Yes.
It is a very pretty face.
Acknowledged to be a beauty everywhere.
There is a merry look in her eyes and character in her chin.
Noted for her wit.
All her life before her when that was painted. It is a spirituelle face, too. Oh, Harry, you brute!
Eh? What?
That dear creature capable of becoming a noble wife and mother? She is the spiritless woman of no account that I saw here a few minutes ago? I forgive you for myself, for I escaped. But that poor lost soul, oh, Harry! Harry!
If ever there was a woman proud of her husband and happy in her married life, that woman is Lady Sims!
I wonder.
Then you needn't wonder.
If I was a husband, it is my advice to all of them. I would often watch my wife quietly to see whether the 12-pound look was not coming into her eyes. 2 boys, did you say, and both like you?
What is that to you?
Well, I was only thinking that somewhere there are 2 little girls who, when they grow up, the dear pretty girls who are all meant for the men that don't get on. Well, goodbye, Sir Harry.
Say first that you're sorry
For what?
that you left me. Say you regret it bitterly. You know you do.
Well, I cannot, for I do not.
You have spoilt the day for me.
I'm sorry for that. But it is only a pinprick, Harry. I suppose it is a little jarring in the moment of your triumph to find that there is one old friend who does not think you a success. But you will soon forget it. Who cares what a typist thinks?
Nobody. A typist at 18 shillings a week.
Not a bit of it, Harry. I double that.
Magnificent.
There's a knock at the door.
May I come in?
It is Lady Sims.
I won't tell her. She's afraid to come into her husband's room without knocking.
She is not. Come in, dearest.
Harry, the sword has come.
Oh, all right.
But I thought you were so eager to practice with it.
Put it down.
It is a beautiful sword, if I may say so.
Yes.
Emmy, the one thing your neck needs is more jewels.
More?
Some ropes of pearls. I'll see to it. It's a bagatelle to me.
Thank you.
I won't detain you any longer, miss.
Thank you.
Going already? You have been very quick.
The person doesn't suit Emmy.
I'm sorry.
So am I, madam. But you can't be helped. It can't be helped. And goodbye, your ladyship. Goodbye, Sir Harry.
The sound of the case is lifted, the door shut.
She seemed, such a capable woman.
I don't like her style at all.
Of course, you know best.
Lord, how she winced when I said I was to give you those ropes of pearls.
Did she? I didn't notice. I suppose so.
Suppose. Well, surely I know enough about women to know that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Emmy, I know you well, don't I? I can read you like a book, eh?
Yes, Harry.
What a different existence yours is from that poor, lonely wretch's.
Yes. But she has a very contented face.
I'll put on. What?
I didn't say anything.
Alive? Ha! That's no life. It is you that are alive. I'm busy, Emmy.
I'm sorry. I'll go, Harry. Are they very expensive?
What?
Those machines?
And so we leave Harry Sims to contemplate his wife's question, however briefly, until he recollects his own superior understanding of the fair sex. Because, of course, we all know what we know, don't we? In this production
Oh, Aaron Angelo.
was Harry Sims,
Cassandra Redding.
was Lady Sims,
Christine Moser.
was Kate née Sims, the typist, and I played Toombs, the butler, in addition to being your omniscient narrator, wishing you comfortable thoughts until next time.
And
The
your
end.
name? And your name?
Oh, Jean Rosalina, that would be helpful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the next one is more literal in its suffragette play. And so we're going to start with A Woman's Influence by Gertrude Jennings.
What's that?
Now we look back to the year 1908, into the comfortably appointed upper middle class parlor of Herbert and Margaret Lawrence. Herbert leads a comfortable, if unconsidered life. His beloved wife, Margaret, however, is what we would call today an activist. She is not merely aware of, but deeply involved in, fighting the scourge of her time, the treatment of female workers in sweatshop factories in her own city. Like many, but not all, of her circle of friends, she believes that the key to ending this blight on civilization is women's suffrage. Herbert, like many husbands of his time, is cheerfully indifferent to the cause and goes about his day blissfully and even willingly, unaware of the conditions in which his shirt, collars, and jackets are made. As we arrive, he is hastily assembling hat, coat, and related accoutrements for an afternoon at his club, while Margaret attempts once again to engage his attention.
Herbert,
Be quick, darling, if you want to speak to me, I'm headed for the club. I want to see old Bob Thurlow, who's just gotten back from the South Pole. What an adventure. I can't wait to hear all about it. Well, what do you want? Don't keep me. I
Before
want to
you
shake
go-
old Bob by the hand, give him my congratulations, buy him a drink, that sort of thing. Good guy, Bob. One of the best. Never rambles on about himself or what he's done, just sets himself to his task and keeps right at it till he's done. Whatever it
was
is you want to say, Margaret, spit it out. I want to be there for the first round. Takes 5 minutes to get there, and I told him I'd be there at 3. The boys will stick with me at the tab. They'll stick me with the tab if I'm late.
I
So,
want you
what
to-
is it? What is it? What is it?
Herbert, I would like you to speak to Mr. Reed for me.
What about? No point speaking to Mr. Reed unless I know what I'm going to say. Reed's a good man, but
Herbert, just listen to me. Something must be done for those poor women at Hillrise Factory. The sweating that goes on there is a disgrace to this town, and I can do nothing to prevent it.
well, that's just it. Nothing can be done. Nothing can be done. Don't worry your pretty little head over it. It'll all come out in the wash.
But Herbert, something can be done, and should be done. As our congressman, Mr. Reed ought to know the condition of the people he's representing. He ought to do something about it.
Well, honey, tell me another time. I'm busy now. Good old Bob, you know, I'm off.
But Herbert, you're always off. Please, please promise to see Mr. Reed for me just for a minute, please.
Well, why not see him yourself, darling? You know I don't take much interest in these things. I'd rather just write the poor beggars a check and have done with it. I'll do that any day, Margaret. But then you've got plenty of your own money.
It isn't just money that they want. Herbert, it's their whole social condition that's wrong.
Well, then tell Reed about it yourself. There's a good girl. Well, he's not a bad man. Bit of an ass, maybe.
Mr. Reed won't listen to me.
Won't listen. Imagine that. Won't listen. Well, well.
He thinks women should not meddle in politics.
Well, my darling, you know I tend to agree with him. Anyway, pretty women like you will always get what you want, don't you? Ask me, I'll do it. Ask your husbands. Much better than fussing about votes for yourselves. What are votes? Sweet, womanly influence. Worth much more.
Knock at the door.
All right if I show myself in?
Well, bless me, it's Miss Thicket. 2 to 1 is not fair. I'm off. How do you do, Miss Thicket? Goodbye. Mwah.
Goodbye.
Any luck?
No.
Oh, thought as much. Any news from Reed?
No.
Oh, thought as much.
Here, you brought the reports?
Oh, yes, it took much longer than I thought. Mary Ball is bringing a list of names. The women working outside the factory are very difficult to trace. They weren't overly anxious at the factory to give me any information about them.
I bet they weren't. Where are the figures?
She flips and pages.
Here.
I see. It's about what we thought. The wages average $5 a week all around.
Yes, about that. And most of these women have 5 or 6 children. That's piecework, of course. The factory isn't officially supposed to know anything about it. They just turn a blind eye.
I wonder what the people who talk about women preserving the sanctity of the house would think of that.
So do I. Sanctity is rather expensive when you've only got $5 a week.
It's heartrending. But what can we do? Temporary help is no cure. If only we had the power to bring the matter up in Congress.
Oh, has our promising young congressman said nothing?
Promising is the right word. He certainly doesn't deliver. He has written, politely refusing to grant me an interview.
Oh, impertinence. If you'd asked him to lunch, he'd have come like a shot. But because he knows you want to speak to him on a grave social question, no.
Is it any wonder? Why should he bother with a creature who does not exist in political life?
That's ridiculous nonsense. Here you are, an intelligent, well-read, thoughtful woman taking a deep interest in the good of the country. Well, you have plenty of money, which you've earned with your pen. You pay taxes, you contribute to the state, yet you can't get your voice heard at all. Look at me, I'm not as rich, but I'm just as clever and just as helpless.
If only Herbert would take up the cause.
But he won't. Herbert takes no interest in reform. Well, how often does he even bother to vote?
Oh, never, unless he's badgered into it.
There, you see? You've got the money and the brains. He's got the vote. Seems to me like an unfair division.
Really, Carrie?
Oh, I dare say I'm rude, but I'm truthful. Politically, your husband has nothing, does nothing, and is nothing. I know he's very charming, a thoroughly nice man, and a gentleman, and all that sort of thing, but why should he represent your interests? I don't know.
Mrs. Perry says I ought to cajole him, her word, into helping my poor starving workers.
Mrs. Perry's a snake. How can you have that woman living under your roof? Beats me.
She's very lonely and has no home to go to, no children to care for.
Well, good thing, too. She's no woman to raise children. I'll tell you this, Margaret. There'd be much less wickedness in the world if all women raised their children as you do.
It's no credit to me, Carrie. It's simply that I've lived in a time when women have become thinking creatures and not mere puppets. Oh, if men only realized how the future of the race lies in our hands. Would they still like those fluffy ruffles of life, the flirt or the fool? So attractive during the engagement, so useless as a wife, and worse than useless as a mother.
What do men care? As long as it's some pretty, round-faced minx with curly hair, what does the future matter? They talk about divine motherhood, and then do their best to drag it down.
I think you're wrong, Carrie. It's used to be that way, I know, but men understand that it's better now, and respect us much more. It's the result of civilization. The test of a man's refinement is his attitude towards women. Does a savage respect women? Of course not.
Well, what did the Honorable Mr. Reed say?
Oh, I'll read you the letter. Wouldn't want to misquote him. Dear Mrs. Lawrence, I am sorry to hear there is so much misery amongst the women in the Hill Rise factory. No doubt the matter will be investigated before long. Before long. I cannot see my way clear to doing anything just at the present.
Ugh, pig!
Are you really a suffragette? If you knew the privations of congressional life, you wouldn't thirst for it.
He thirsted for it, though, didn't he? Besides, who's talking about congressional life?
I hope to pay a call on your husband soon. There are so many matters I wish to discuss with him. Yours sincerely, R.R. Reed. He'll discuss things with the voter, not with me.
And meanwhile, this awful sweating business goes on unchecked. Oh, Margaret, it is heartbreaking.
There's a knock at the door.
Hello, Mrs. Perry. Please come in.
Well, hello. What's heartbreaking? Do tell me. It sounds too interesting.
No, it wouldn't interest you, Mrs. Perry.
Oh, dear Miss Thicket. So nice to see you. You haven't changed a bit. It was only yesterday I said to Margaret, as Miss Thicket was in the beginning, so she is in the middle, and so she will be until the end.
Oh, how very sweet of you.
Not at all. It's just how I feel. Oh, dear. What a lot of papers. My darling Margaret, what are they all about?
They're mainly reports on the sweating system. I'm interested in these mills, and I'm trying to get the women's conditions improved.
Oh, Margaret, how good of you to take up such funny, dull subjects. Don't you find it terribly aging?
She doesn't look as if she did.
No, she's so precious. Still, I think all these things ought to be done by men. I mean, don't you?
No, Aline. Men with the best intentions in the world can't understand the subject as we do.
I'd like to see a man's face when he's suddenly confronted with the details of some of our cases. This one, for instance. See that? And that.
Oh, yes. Very sad. But really, they shouldn't have had children, should they? I mean, if they want to work.
Want to work, Aline? What are these poor women to do unless they work? This one, Annie Matthews, has been deserted by her husband. She brings up and supports his children by making shirts at 5 cents an hour. Lisa Green works inside the factory, standing for 8 hours, even though her baby is only a week old. Mary Ball, wage earner for the household. Husband drinks. She does one man's work for the factory at Hillrise, but because she's a woman, she only gets half the
Oh,
wage.
dear me. It's too bad, isn't it? But it's no use trying to do anything for them, dear. I mean, these people are so ungrateful. Why, I gave my housekeeper a fur jacket once, and I found out afterwards she pawned it.
To buy food, no doubt.
Oh, dear Miss Thicket. You're so strenuous. But, Margaret, if you really want to agitate or legislate or whatever it is called, well, why don't you just take my advice and coax your husband into helping you? Mr. Reed would listen to him.
Herbert doesn't care about these things. Neither does Mr. Reed, for that matter.
Oh, my dear, make them care. Surely you can do that.
They are not so easily influenced.
Well, I expect you don't know how to set about it.
You can't expect her methods to be quite the same as yours.
Carrie?
Never mind, dear. I like it. After 30 years, a woman does so appreciate a little flattery.
Flattery? Oh, that's just it. You would call it flattery.
Well, all these things, dear Margaret, are so easy to get from men. A woman's influence.
Isn't always for the good.
Oh, dear Miss Thicket. I'm sure yours would be. I mean, such a waste, isn't it? To think it will never be exercised. May I speak to your husband, Margaret?
I hardly think, Aline.
Oh, do let me try, just for fun. Sometimes a word from a stranger will be listened to when the poor wife preaches in vain.
It's very kind of you, but...
A bell rings.
Oh, that's Mary Ball, I expect.
I'll go and see. She is very shy.
Oh, dear soul. Isn't she so quaint?
Quaint.
Well, yes. About this woman's movement and votes and all that sort of thing. And I'm perfectly satisfied. I find nothing in life to grumble at. I don't want to vote.
No, you wouldn't. Why should you?
Well, exactly. Why should you?
Come in, Mary. Don't be afraid. This is a friend of mine, Mrs. Perry. Sit down and tell me how things are going.
Much the same. Thank you, ma'am.
Come. Yes. How is the baby?
He's still poorly, ma'am. He just don't seem to have any strength like.
Well, how come you're out of the works so early, Mary?
They sent me out, miss.
Sent you out?
Yes, ma'am. On account of the baby. I couldn't leave him alone, and there ain't no one else to look after him. So they told me I couldn't work inside the factory no more. I'll have to work outside now, miss.
What are you paid for that, Mary?
4 cents an hour, miss. If I keep my head down. But if I take my eyes off my work, I lose time, and my eyesight ain't what it used to be. Summer's coming, though, and that means that more time for working, and I'm grateful for that.
Is there much trouble down your way right now?
Well, ma'am, there's always trouble to hear about if you care to listen. But don't suppose ours is any worse than anybody else's. We've been hearing a bit about these votes for women, and some of us was thinking that if that were to happen, that might be good for us.
Oh, no, my good woman. That wouldn't help you. I mean, what use has it been to men?
Begging your pardon, ma'am, but we think different. We don't get much time for reading down here, but we do have eyes and we do see what's going on. My daddy told me time and again how many things got put right for working men since they got a chance of saying what they wanted. Well, no one gives women a chance, ma'am.
Well, you should get your husband to speak up for you.
And Mr. Ball is unfortunately not that responsible.
He's kind when the drink don't take him, ma'am. He's never raised a hand to me, but as for giving his vote, I don't hardly know.
He does vote, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, ma'am, but he never knows which way. Well, here's the list that you asked me for, ma'am. I could get more names if I had more time. These is just the neighbors that have signed. Some said the vote's no use to them because it's their husbands that pay the rent. I said, if you don't want yourself, then give it to them that do.
Quite right, Mary. You see, Aline, 35 names in Mary Ball's own little circle. Isn't that proof enough that working women are beginning to take the vote seriously?
Poor dears. Of course they want it. But I'm sure I could do more for them in 5 minutes with the Honorable Mr. Reed, or even Mr. Lawrence than 100 votes.
Then for heaven's sake, ma'am, I wish you would do it. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think you know just what you're saying or what it means to folks like us. It's a pretty hard life down our way, and it's hard folks that live it. But we ain't beasts, though we've been treated like them. Now, I ain't saying anything against the men. They're as God made them, but there are just some things that no man can understand. I don't know if you're a mother of children, ma'am, but if you are, well, you'll know what I'm saying is right. It ain't men who can help us now. It's women. It's ourselves. And that's the truth.
Really? You quite overwhelm me.
Oh, beg pardon, ma'am. I forgot myself. I shouldn't go on like that. But these things, they burn inside you like fire until they bust out. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, Mary, I'm so glad you've spoken. You suffer too much in silence.
It falls on deaf ears half the time.
Come, Mary, let's have us some tea. I've got plans for you. Don't worry, you and the children will be taken care of until the day when you can speak for yourselves.
Thank you kindly, ma'am. I'm just so ashamed I went on like that. I got carried away. Good day, miss. Good day, ma'am.
Come.
So you see, Mrs. Perry, women do want the vote.
Oh, dear Margaret shouldn't be encouraging this discontent among the lower classes. It's so unnecessary. They're always making demands on us.
Well, then they might as well demand something that'll improve their condition.
Well, you haven't convinced me the least little bit, dear Miss Thicket. I still believe that my way of getting things is the best way, and I'll tell you what. Just for fun, I'll bet you a silver dollar that I can get Mr. Lawrence and get through to him. To the Honorable Mr. Reed to take up this woman's sweating business at real hot hill rise and raise a question about it on the floor of the House.
How are you going to do it?
Now that is my business. Well, how about it?
Well, all right, couldn't hurt.
If I succeed, wouldn't that shake your belief in votes for women?
Ah, no more than you failing would shake your disbelief in yourself. Good day.
Hello again, Miss Thicket. Are you leaving? Can I get you a cab?
Well, now if it isn't Mr. Lawrence back in the nick of time to comfort a poor, distraught woman.
Mrs. Perry can be heard sobbing as Herbert enters, cheerfully oblivious.
Oh, I'll just... Is that you, Mrs. Perry?
Yes?
Oh, please, don't cry. What's happened? I'll call Margaret.
No. Dear Mr. Lawrence, please don't.
Well, maybe I could catch Mrs. Thicket. A woman will know what to say.
No, please.
Well, I'll just leave you to it then. Get out of your way.
No, please don't leave me here alone.
Well, what should I do?
Well, nothing. It's all right, really. I'll be fine in a moment. It's stupid of me. We women are such foolish creatures, so different from you. How I envy your strength, your self-control.
Oh, well,
Well, do sit down and talk to me for a spell. I feel sure it would do me good. I'm afraid I'm an awful sight.
oh, no, not at all. I wouldn't say awful.
No, that's so sweet of you.
No, not at all. You're top shelf in the looks department. That's what I've always said to Margaret.
Margaret.
Yeah, she agrees with me. But please, Mrs. Perry, won't you tell me what's troubling you? As your trustee, I know it can't be money.
Oh, no, it's not money. And in fact, it's not my own trouble at all.
Not your own.
Well, quite the contrary.
Well, won't you tell me?
May I?
Well, of course.
Oh, Mr. Lawrence, it's these poor women in the factories. The distress, the misery is awful, and I can't do anything about it. But what the weak, faltering instinct of a woman discovers, the strong hand of a man can put right. Dear Mr. Lawrence, won't you help me?
How, Mrs. Perry? What can I do? I mean, what can I do?
Won't you go to Mr. Reed and ask him to do something about this awful business? He would listen. He would listen to you when he wouldn't pay any attention to poor little me.
Now, I feel certain that if you went to see him, Mrs. Perry, that he would do anything he could for you.
I've been told that he is most unsympathetic and that he cares very little about other people's troubles. Nothing like you, dear kind Mr. Lawrence.
Ah, well, I'm afraid I can't do very much, but for what it's worth, I'm at your service.
Oh, how very sweet you are. How absurd it is to talk about votes for women when men are so gentle and unselfish.
So what do you think can be done, Mrs. Perry?
Oh, I'm so ignorant, I can't imagine. But I think perhaps Mr. Reed ought to raise the issue of the underpayment of the women workers on the floor of the House. Couldn't he mention this factory as a case in point?
No, he couldn't do that, I'm afraid. But he could quote statistics. Now, I'm no businessman, but I mean, these things are hard to explain to a lady. But if you'll start monkeying around with the wages, shares go down, and then the shareholders start yelling, and that leads to no end of trouble.
Well, but surely the shareholders won't mind if their shares do go down just a little, if it's to help the poor women.
No, they shouldn't, of course, but they're not all like you, Mrs. Perry, and that's the trouble, you see. I'm sure you wouldn't care one bit if your shares didn't pay 7 cents for a year or two, if the workers benefited.
Well, not at all. I mean, but of course my shares couldn't go down. They're in consoles or something, aren't they?
Bless your heart, no. You wouldn't get 7% on consoles. No, Mrs. Perry. I promised your husband I'd look after your money for you, and I kept my word. It's invested in Hill-Rise Securities.
What?
Well, that's right. The factories are all right here in Margaret's district. It's a terrific investment, I can tell you. Not likely to go down either unless anything happens to upset it.
Unless anything happens to upset it.
What's the matter?
Oh, it's nothing. Nothing really.
Oh, right. So, what shall I say to Reed? I'll see him tomorrow, if you like. He values my advice. Good man, Reed. He'll get the whole thing going in less than no time.
Oh, will he?
Count on it. Leave it to me, and it's as good as done.
Well, Mr. Lawrence, I think I might have a little plan.
And that is?
Well, I think perhaps I'd better wait until I worked it all out, and then I'll tell you, and it will be our little secret, and you'll help me with it, won't you?
Well, absolutely. You know I will. Anything I can do. Trust me.
Thank you. I will let you know as soon as I've got it all fixed up. But in the meantime, dear Mr. Lawrence, I want you to maintain absolute silence on the matter. Do not see Mr. Reed or upset yourself over the question in any way. I can't explain why, but if you do, it will absolutely ruin my little scheme. Will you promise?
Certainly. But what about Margaret?
Margaret?
She's always after me to join her crusade to help these factory women.
Oh, well, tell her that you can't just now.
She talks a lot about it. Can't get a word in edgewise.
Well, I'm sure you can. Be firm when really necessary. Yes, I can tell that you are full of hidden strengths.
Well, I'm master in mine own house, of course.
Of course. So you tell dear Margaret you can do nothing.
Very well.
And you'll keep my little secret?
I swear it.
Herbert, I thought I heard you come in.
Oh, dearest Margaret. So you gave that poor creature tea. What a ministering angel you are. Well, I really should tidy myself up before our own tea. If you'll excuse me, I won't be but a moment.
I know what you're thinking, Margaret.
What am I thinking?
You are thinking that I was, flirting with Mrs. Perry.
Well, why shouldn't you?
What?
My dear, don't you think I know Eileen by now? She behaves like that with every man she meets. Besides, do you think I don't know you?
How do you mean?
I mean that I have absolute confidence in you.
You're not angry, then?
Not in the slightest.
Margaret, you are the nicest, dearest, most sensible...
Oh, yes, I know. The only thing I don't understand is why Eileen was making such a mystery of it all.
All what?
Of asking you to help us.
Oh, you know about that, then?
Of course. Why not?
Well, she says she's got her own idea about it, you see, Margaret.
And you've promised not to do anything for Hillrise just yet?
Yes. What factory did you say, Margaret?
The Hillrise. Of course. That's the worst by far. Didn't you know?
No.
Herbert, dear, I have told you over and over again.
Yes, I know, but I wasn't paying much attention. You know how it is. Men have so much to think about, they can't always be listening, can they? So much chatter. But now you mention it, I begin to realize that is why she changed her mind all of a sudden and didn't want me to talk to Reed. I see.
She changed her mind and didn't want you to talk to Reed?
No. All her money's in Hillrise. She only just found that out.
I see. So you had promised to talk to Reed before that?
Well, you know how it is. I came in, saw her crying.
Crying?
Crying. For the poor women, she said. It was awfully sweet of her.
Oh, Herbert. So this is what you mean by a woman's influence. This is how we are supposed to wield power, to arm the fighters in our great cause, to carry out our mighty ambitions. Any little flirt, or idle, heartless woman can bend a man's will to her bidding at the blink of a moment. What can be done with such weapons?
What do you mean, Margaret?
I mean that Mrs. Perry was wheedling you into doing this for a joke. A bet.
A bet?
Yes, a bet with Miss Thickets. Then, of course, when she found out it would damage her own interests, she drew back and made you promise not to do anything.
Good Lord. What makes you think so?
I don't think. I know.
Well, that is not right, and I'm going to tell her so.
She'd only laugh.
Laugh. It's horrifying. I don't think it's amusing at all.
No, Herbert. It isn't at all amusing if you think of all the sin and misery that lie beneath. The helplessness of woman using her one weapon, sometimes beautifully, sometimes merely frivolously, like today, or sometimes with degradation, but always the same weapon. Huh. If you men would only give us another one, the use of our intelligence, so that we could realize that we are reasonable creatures, fit to be heard equally with men, not parasites. You love and respect me, I know. I want you to love and respect women for my sake, to give her that place in social life, which is her right. She is worthy. She will be more worthy. Help her then, and someday you will be proud of what you have done.
I wonder if you're right, Margaret. I'm beginning to think there is something in what you say, and that I ought to be helping you, after all.
My dear, but I don't want you to join just because I persuaded you, or to do anything against your better judgment. I want you to join us because you see that the cause is just.
I do see it. Yes, Margaret, I will help you. I can in 100 ways. And the work will be so much easier if we do it together.
My dear, that's the key to the whole women's movement. We can do so much more if we work together.
The end.
And to end, we have a poem called Woman This and Woman That. And this is by Lawrence Hausman. We went up the steps of Congress with petitions year by year. Get out! The politicians cried. We want no women here. Politicians behind the railing stood and laughed to see the fun, and bold policemen knocked us down because we would not run.
For it's woman this and woman that, and woman go away.
But it's share and share alike, ma'am, when the taxes are to pay.
When the taxes are to pay, my friends, the taxes are to pay.
Oh, it's police to pay up promptly when the taxes are to pay.
We went before the lay judge, who would not hear us speak, to a drunken brute who beat his wife. He only gave a week. But we were sent to Lorton a calendar month or more because we dared, against his will, to knock at Sherman's door.
For it's woman this and woman that, and woman wait outside.
But it's listen to the ladies when it suits your party's side.
When it suits your party side, my friends, with politicians on the stump.
Shaking in their shoes at how the cat is going to jump.
When women go for work for them, the government encaged, to give them lots of contact jobs at a low starvation wage. But when it's men that they employ, they always add a note. Fair wages must be paid, because the men have got the vote.
For it's women this and women that, and women learn your place.
But it's help us of your charity when the trouble looms apace.
When trouble comes apace, my friends, when trouble comes apace.
Then it's oh for woman's charity to help save the human race.
You dress yourself in uniforms to guard your native shores, but those who made the uniforms do work as good as yours. For the soldier bears the rifle, but the woman bears the race. And that you'd find no trifle if you had her take her place.
For it's woman this and woman that, and woman cannot fight.
But it's ministering angels when the wounded come in sight.
When the wounded come in sight, my friends, the wounded come in sight.
It's a ministering angel then who nurses day and night.
We may not quite be angels. Had we been, we should have flown. We are only human beings who have wants much like your own. And if sometimes our conduct isn't all your fancy paints, it wasn't man's example that could have turned us into saints.
For it's woman here, and woman there, and woman on the streets.
And it's how they look at women when most men that one meets.
With most men that one meets, my friends, with most men that one meets.
It's the way they look at women that keeps women on the streets.
You talk of sanitation and temperance and schools, and you send your male inspectors to impose your man-made rules. The women's sphere, the home, you say? Then provide it to our face. Give us the vote that we may make the home a happier place.
For it's woman this and woman that, and woman say your say.
But it's what's the woman up to when she tries to show the way?
When she tries...
When she tries to show the way, my friends, when she tries to show the way.
And the woman means to show it. That is why she's out today.
That is why she's out today. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you so much. And don't forget, support Frederick Arts Council and Sky Stage and Endangered Species Theatre Project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies. And Aaron.